Om Sri Lakshmi Narasimhaya Namaha. Katha Upanishad. Om, may he protect us both together by illuminating the nature of knowledge. May he sustain us both by ensuring the fruits of knowledge. May we attain the vigor of knowledge together. Let what we learn enlighten us. Let us not hate each other. Om, peace, peace, peace. Chapter 1. 1. Out of desire, so goes the story. The son of Vajrashrava gave away all his wealth. He had a son named Nachiketas. 2. Though young, faith possessed him as presents were being brought, he thought. 3. Water has been drunk for the last time by these cows. Grass has been eaten for the last time. They have yielded all their milk and are devoid of the power of the organs. Those worlds are indeed joyless where he goes who offers this. 4. He then said to his parent, Father, to whom wilt thou give me? A second time and third time he said it. To him, he, the father, said, To death I give thee. 5. Of many I go the first, of many I go the middlemost. What purpose of Yama could there be which my father will get accomplished today through me? 6. Think how your ancestors behaved. Behold how others now behave. Let corn man decays, and let corn he is born again. 7. Like Visharnara fire, a Brahmana guest enters the house. Men offer this to propitiate him. O Vaivasvata, Yama, fetch water for him. 8. Hope, expectation, association with the effect of these two. Pleasant discourse, sacrifice, acts of pious liberty, sons and cattle, all these are destroyed in the case of the man of little intellect in whose house a Brahmana dwells without food. 9. O Brahmana, since thou, a worshipful guest, hast dwelt in my house for 3 nights without food, let me make salutations to thee. O Brahmana, may peace be with me. Therefore, ask for 3 boons in return. 10. O death, let Gautama, my father, be relieved of the anxiety. Let him become calm in mind and free from anger towards me. And let him recognize me and talk to me when liberated by thee. Of the 3 boons, this is the first I choose. 11. Audalaki, the son of Aruna, will recognize thee as before and will, with my permission, sleep peacefully during night, and on seeing thee released from the jaws of death, he will be free from anger. 12. There is no fear in heaven, nor art thou there, nor is there any fear from old age. Transcending both hunger and thirst and rising above grief, man rejoices in heaven. 13. O death, thou knowest the fire that leads to heaven. Instruct me, who am endowed with faith, about that fire, by which those who dwell in heaven attain immortality. This I choose for my second boon. 14. I will teach thee well. Listen to me and understand, O Nachiketas. I know the fire that leads to heaven. Know that fire which is the means for the attainment of heavens, and which is the support of the universe and located in the cavity. 15. Death told him of the fire, the source of the worlds, the sort of bricks for raising the sacrifice altar, how many and how to kindle the fire, and he, Nachiketas, too repeated it as it was told. Then death, becoming delighted over it, said again. 16. The exalted one, being pleased, said to him, I grant thee again another boon now. By thy name itself shall this fire be known, and accept thou this necklace of manifold forms. 17. Whoso kindles the Nachiketas fire thrice and becomes united with 3 and does the threefold karma, transcends birth and death, knowing the omniscient one, born of Brahma, bright and adorable, and realizing it, he attains to surpassing peace. 18. He who knowing the 3 form of bricks, etc., piles up the Nachiketa fire with this knowledge, throws off the chains of death even before the body falls off, and rising over grief rejoices in heaven. 19. This is the fire, O Nachiketas, which leads to heaven, and which thou hast chosen for the second boon. Of this fire people will speak as thine indeed. O Nachiketas, choose the third boon. 20. This doubt as to what happens to a man after death, some say he is, and some others say he is not, I shall know being taught by thee. Of the boons, this is the third boon. 21. Even by gods, this doubt was entertained in days of yore. This topic, being subtle, is not easy to comprehend. Ask for some other boon. O Nachiketas, don't press me, give up this boon for me. 22. Nachiketas said, since even by the gods was doubt entertained in this regard, and since thou sayest, O death, that this is not easy comprehended, no other preceptor like thee can be had to instruct on this, nor is there any other boon equal to this. 23rd. Ask for sons and grandsons who will live 100 years. Ask for herds of cattle, elephants, gold and horses, as also for vast extent of earth, and thyself live for as many autumns as thou desirest. 24. If thou thinkest any other boon to be equal to this, ask for wealth and longevity. Be thou the ruler over a vast country, O Nachiketas, I shall make thee enjoy all thy longings. 25. What all things there are in the human world which are desirable, but hard to win, pray for all those desirable things according to thy pleasure. Here are these damsels with the chariots and lutes, the like of whom can never be had by men. By them, given by me, get thy service rendered, O Nachiketas, do not ask about death. 26. These, O death, are ephemeral, and they tend to wear out the vigor of all the senses of man. Even the whole life is short indeed. Be thine alone the chariots, be thine the dance and music. 27. Man cannot be satisfied with wealth. If we need wealth, we shall get it if we only see thee. We shall live until such time as thou wilt rule. But the boon to be asked for by me is that alone. 28. Having gained contact with the undecaying and the immortal, what decaying mortal dwelling on the earth below who knows the higher goal will delight in long life after becoming aware of the transitoriness of beauty, varian, and sport, rati, and the joy, pramoda, thereof. 29. O death, tell us of that, of the great beyond, about which man entertain doubt. Nachiketas does not pray for any other boon than this, which enters into the secret that is hidden. 1. Different is that which is preferable. Chapter 2. 1. Difference is that which is preferable, and difference indeed is a pleasurable. These two serving different purpose, blind man. God accused to him who of these two chooses the preferable. He who chooses the pleasurable falls from the goal. 2. The preferable and the pleasurable approach man. The intelligent one examines both and separates them. A. The intelligent one prefers the preferable to be pleasurable, whereas the ignorant one selects the pleasurable for the sake of yoga, attainment of that which is not already possessed, and kshema, the preservation of that which is already in possession. 3. Thou hast relinquished, O Nachiketas, all objects of desire, dear, and of covetable nature, pondering over their worthlessness. Thou hast not accepted the path of wealth, in which perish many a mortal. 4. What is known as ignorance and what is known as knowledge are highly opposed to each other, and lead to different ways. I consider Nachiketas to be aspiring after knowledge, for desire, numerous though they may be, did not tear thee away. 5. Living in the midst of ignorance and deeming themselves intelligent and enlightened, the ignorant go around and round, staggering in crooked paths, like the blind led by the blind. 6. The means of attaining the other world does not become revealed to the non-discriminating one, who, deluded by wealth, has become negligent. He who thinks this world alone is and none else, comes to my thraldom again and again. 7. Of the self, many are not even able to hear him many. Though they hear, do not comprehend. Wonderful is the expounder of the self and attainer, proficient. The knower of the self, taught by the able preceptor, is wonderful. 8. This self, if taught by an inferior person, is not easily comprehended, for it is variously thought of, unless thought by another who is perceiver of non-difference. There is no way of comprehending it, for it is not arguable and is subtler than subtly. 9. This knowledge of the self attained by thee cannot be had through argumentation. O dearest, this doctrine, only if taught by some teacher other than a logician, leads to right knowledge. O, thou art rooted in truth, Many a questioner be ever like thee, O Nachiketas. 10. I know that the treasure is impermanent, for that which is constant cannot be reached by things which are not constant. Therefore has the Nachiketa fire been kindled by me with impermanent things, and I have attained the eternal. 11. The fulfillment of all desires, the support of the universe, the endless fruit of sacrifice, and the other shores of fearlessness, the extensive path which is praiseworthy and great, as also thy own exalted state, seeing all this thou hast intelligence as thou art, boldly rejected them. 12. The intelligent one, knowing the concentration of mind, the self that is hard to perceive, lodged in the innermost recess, located in intelligence, seated amidst misery and ancient, abounds joy and grief. 13. Having heard this and grasped it well, the mortal separating the virtuous being from the body, etc., and attaining the subtle self, rejoices having obtained that which causes joy, the abode of Brahman. I think is wide open unto Nachiketas. 14. Tell me of that which thou seest as distinct from virtue, distinct from vice, distinct from effect and cause, distinct from the past and the future. 15. The goal which all the Vedas expound, which all austerities declare and desiring, which aspirant resort to brahmacharya, that goal I tell thee briefly. It is this Om. 16. This syllable Om indeed is lower Brahman. This syllabus indeed is higher Brahman. Whosoever knows the syllabus indeed attain whatsoever he desires. 17. This support is the best. This support is the supreme. Knowing this support, one is magnificent in the world of Brahman. 18. The intelligent self is not born, nor does it die. It does not come from anywhere, nor did anything come from it. It is unborn, eternal and everlasting and ancient, and is not slain even when the body is slain. 19. If the slayer thinks that he slays it, and if the slain thinks of it as slain, both these do not know, for it does not slay nor is slain. 20th. The self that is subtler than the subtle and greater than the greatest is seated in the heart of every creature. One who is free from desire sees the glory of the self through the tranquility of the mind and senses and becomes absolved from grief. 21. While sitting, it goes far. While lying, it goes everywhere. Who other than me can know the deity who is joyous and joyless? 22. The intelligent one, having know the self to be bodiless in all bodies, to be firmly seated in things that are perishable, and to be great and all-pervading, does not grieve. 23. The self cannot be attained by the study of the Vedas, nor by intelligence, nor by much hearing. Only by him who seeks to know the self can it be attained. To him the self reveals its own nature. 24. None who has not refrained from bad conduct, whose senses are not under restraint, whose mind is not collected, or who does not preserve a tranquil mind, can attain this self through knowledge. 25. The self to which both the Brahmana and the Kshatriya are food, as it were, and death a soup. How can one know thus where it is? Chapter 3. 1. The knowers of Brahman and those who kindle the 5 fires and propitiate the Nachiketa fire thrice speak of as light and shade, the two that enjoy the results of righteous deeds, entering without the body into the innermost cavity of the heart, the supreme abode of Brahman. 2. May we be able to know the Nachiketa fire, which is bright, which is the bridge for the sacrificers, as also the imperishable Brahman, fearless, as well as the other shore for those who are desirous of crossing the ocean of samsara. 3. Knowing the self to be the master of the chariot, and the body to be the chariot, know the intelligence to be the charioteer, and the mind to be the reins. 4. The senses they speak of as the horses, the object within their view, the way. When the self is yoked with the mind and senses, the wise call it the enjoyer. 5. By whoso is devoid of discrimination and is possessed of a mind ever uncollected, his senses are uncontrollable like the vicious horse of a driver. 6. By whoso is discriminative and possessed of mind ever collected, his senses are controllable like the good horses of a driver. 7. But whoso is devoid of a discriminating intellect, possessed of an unrestrained mind, and is ever impure, does not attain that goal but goes to samsara. 8. But whoso is possessed of a discriminating intellect and a restrained mind and is ever pure attains that goal from which he is not born again. 9. But the man who has a discriminating intelligence as his driver and a controlled mind as the reins reach the end of the path, that supreme state of Vishnu. 10. The sensory objects are subtler than the senses, and subtler than the sensory object is mind, but intellect is subtler than mind, and subtler than intellect is Mahat, the Hiranyagarbha. 11. The unmanifested Avyakta is subtler than Mahat, Hiranyagarbha, and subtler than the unmanifested is Purusha. There is nothing subtler than Purusha. That is the end, that is the supreme goal. 12. This self hidden in all beings does not shine, but the share of subtle and pointed intellect capable of perceiving subtle object, it is seen. 13. Let the wise man merge speech in his mind, merge that mind into the intelligent self, and the intelligent self into the Mahat. Let him then merge that Mahat into the peaceful self. 14. Arise, awake, and learn by approaching the exalted ones, for that path is sharp as a razor edge, impassable and hard to go by, say the wise. 15. By knowing that which is soundless, touchless, formless, undecaying, so also tasteless, eternal, odorless, beginless, endless, subtler than Mahat and constant, man is liberated from the jaws of death. 16. Narrating and hearing this eternal story of Nachiketas told by death, the intelligent man attains glory in the world of Brahman. 17. Whoso, becoming pure, causes the supreme secret to be recited before an assembly of the Brahmanas or at the time of Shraddha, that ceremony secures for him infinite results. Chapter 2. 1. This self-existence damned the outgoing senses. Therefore, one sees eternally and not the internal self. Someone who is intelligent with his eyes turned away, desirous of immortality, sees the inner self. The main chapter 2, part 2. The unintelligent go after outward pleasure, they fall into the meshes of widespread death. But the intelligent, having known immortality to be constant, never covet here objects that are inconstant. 3. By the self, a man knows form, taste, odor, sound, touch, and the sexual joy, which remains here unknowable to the self. This verily is that thou seekest. 4. Knowing that great and all-pervading self by which one sees the object both in sleep and the waking state, the intelligent man grieves no more. 5. Whoso knows the self closely, the honey-eater, the supporter of vital airs, and the lord of the past and the future, will not henceforward protect himself. This verily is that thou seekest. 6. He who perceives the firstborn that came into being from tapas, that is Brahman, before the waters, and that entered into the cavity of the heart, is seated there. He pursues that very Brahman. This verily is thou seekest. 7. He who perceives this Aditi that comes into being as prana, comprising all the gods, that is manifested along with the elements, and that entering into the cavity of the heart is seated there. He pursues that very Brahman. This verily is thou seekest. 8. The sacrificial fire lodged in the two aranis, even as the fetus is carefully born by the pregnant woman, is fit to be worshipped every day by men who are wakeful and possessed of oblation. This verily is that thou seekest. 9. On that form which the sun rises and which it sets are fixed by all the gods. None ever goes beyond that. This verily is that thou seekest. 10. What indeed is here is there. What is there is here again. Whoso here sees as though different passes from death to death. 11. By mind alone is this attainable. There is no difference here whatsoever. Whoso here sees as though different passes from death to death. 12. The Purusha of the size of a thumb dwells in the body. Realizing him as the Lord of the past and the future, one does not henceforward want to protect oneself. This verily is that thou seekest. 13. The Purusha of the size of the thumb is like a smokeless flame and is the Lord of the past and the future. He certainly exists now and shall certainly exist tomorrow. This verily is that thou seekest. 14. As rainwater fallen on mountain ridges runs down the rocks, so does one seeing the selves differently run after them alone. 15. As pure water poured into pure water remains the same only, so does the self of the thinker who knows thus becomes, O Gautama. Subchapter 2 in the main chapter 2. The city of the unborn, whose knowledge is like the light of the sun, consists of 11 gates. Meditating on him, one does not grieve and becomes free from bondage. One becomes liberated. This verily is that thou seekest. 2. As mover, sun, he dwells in heaven. As air, he pervades everything and dwells in inner space. As fire, on the earth. As guest, in the house. He dwells in men, dwells in gods, dwells in truth, and dwells in space. He is all that is born in water, all that is born on earth, all that is born in sacrifices, and all that is born on the mountain. He is unchanging and great. 3. He raises the prana upwards and casts the apana downwards. All the gods worship him who is adorable and seated in the middle. 4. When the self seated in the body is torn away and freed from the body, what remains here? This verily is that thou seekest. 5. Not by prana, not by apana does a mortal live, but all live by something else on which these two depend. 6. I will describe to thee, O Gautama, this secret ancient Brahman, and also what becomes of the self after death. Some jivas enter the womb for assuming bodies, others go into the unmoving in accordance with their karma and with their knowledge. 8. This Purusha who is awake when all are asleep, creating all things cherished, is certainly pure, that is Brahman. That is called the immortal. All worlds are strung on that. None passes beyond that. This verily is that thou seekest. 9. Just as fire, though one having entered the world, assumes a separate form in respect of every form, so does the indwelling self of all beings, though one assume a form in respect of every form and is outside it. 10. Just as wind, though one having entered the world, assumes a separate form in respect of each form, so does the indwelling self of all beings, though one assumes a form in respect of every form and is outside it. 11. Just as the sun, which is the eye of the entire world, is not tainted by the external impurities seen by the eye, so also the indwelling self of all beings, though one, is not tainted by the sorrows of the world, it being external. 12. External happiness belongs to the intelligence, not to others. Eternal happiness belongs to the intelligent, not to others, who realize in their heart him who is one, the controller of the indwelling self of all beings, and who makes the one form manifold. 13. Whoso among the intelligent realizes the self in the inner space of the heart as the eternal among the ephemeral, the consciousness among the conscious, who, though one, dispenses the desired objects to many, to them belongs eternal peace, not to others. 14. How shall I know that indescribable and supreme bliss which they think of as this? Is the self luminous, or does it shine distinctly, making itself perceptible to the intelligence, or does it not? 15. There the sun shines not, nor do the moon and the stars, nor do these lightings. How then can this fire shine? Everything shines after him that shines, but his light shines all this. Subchapter 3 in main chapter 2. 1. This people tree, with roots above the branches down, is eternal. That which is its source is certainly pure. That is Brahman, and that is called immortal. On that are strung all the worlds, none passes beyond that. This verily is thou seekest. 2. All this universe evolved from Brahman, moves in prana in Brahman, the most frightful, like an uplifted thunderbolt. Those who knows this becomes immortal. 3. For fear of him fire burns, for fear of him shines the sun, for fear of him Indra and Vayu function, for fear of him death, the fifth, stalks on the earth. 4. If one could know here prior to the falling of the body, one becomes liberated. If not, one becomes fit to be embodied in the worlds of creatures. 5. As in a mirror, so in one's intelligence as in a dream, so in the world of mains, as seen in the water, so in the world of Gandharvas, as in the case of shade and fire, so in the world of Brahma. 6. The intelligent man, having known the different nature of sense originating separately from their causes, as also the rising and setting, does not grieve. 7. The mind is subtler than the senses, subtler than the mind is the intellect. Mahat, Hiranyagarbha, is subtler than the intellect, Subtler than Mahat is Avyakta, that is unmanifested. 8. But subtler than Avyakta is Purusha, all pervading and without a linga, distinguishing mark indeed, knowing whom a mortal becomes freed and attains immortality. 9. His form does not stand within the scope of vision, none behold him with the eye, but the intellect restraining the mind, and through meditation is he revealed. Those who knows this becomes immortal. 10. When the five senses of knowledge are at rest together with the mind and the intellect is not active, that state they call the highest. 11. That steady restraint over the senses they regard as yoga, then one becomes vigilant, for yoga can indeed originate in one and can be lost as well. 12. Not by speech, nor by mind, not by eye can it be attained, except in the case of one who says it exists. How can it be known to anyone else? 13. The self should be apprehended as existing and also as it really is. Of these two aspects, to him who knows it to exist, its true nature is revealed. 14. When all longings that are in the heart vanish, then a mortal becomes immortal and attains Brahman here. 15. When all the knots of the heart are cut asunder here, then a mortal becomes immortal. Only this much is the instruction. 16. There are 101 nerves of the heart. Then one goes out piercing the head. Going up through that, one attains immortality. The others serve for departing in different ways. 17. Purusha of the size of a thumb, the inner self, is ever seated in the heart of all living beings. One should, with steadiness, separate him from one's own body as stalk from the munja grass. One should know him as pure as and immortal. One should know him as pure as and immortal. 18. Nachiketas then, having acquired this knowledge imparted by death, as also the instructions on yoga in entirety attained Brahman, having become dispassionate and deathless, so does become anyone else who knows the inner self thus. Om, may he protect us both together by illuminating the nature of knowledge. May he sustain us both by ensuring the fruits of knowledge. May we attain the vigor of knowledge together. Let what we learn enlighten us. Let us not hate each other. Om, peace, peace, peace. Here ends the Katha Upanishad as contained in the Krishna Yajurveda. Mantrahina, Kriyahina, Bhaktihina, Kshamapate. Om Sri Krishnarpanamastu.